Welcome to video number 23 in the Using iTrain tutorial series. In this video we'll look at creating a train route using markers to repeat a loop. Welcome back. So far we have completed a loop of the layout in an anti-clockwise direction and have created some random stops at the north platforms and a scheduled stop at south platform 1. This time we will start the route with the train in south siding as if it was stored there, and then bring it onto the main line at south platform 1 where it will stop to load passengers. It will then continue around the main line loop using the route that we created earlier, and it will go round a couple of times before it then terminates at south platform 1 and then stores itself back into the south siding. So let's open the train route editor with Control plus Shift plus F4. We need to add a step at the beginning, so we click on that first step and use the Insert button. Then we go to the lower window, select Block, and then from the drop down menu we choose the south siding. We can leave the direction at both because the train is already in the block, so the entry direction for this step is not important, and we have no need to have a wait at the beginning step, so we can leave that at 0%. Next we add the step at the end, so we simply press the Append button and then go to Block, and again we choose south siding 1. And this time the direction is important because the train will be terminating at south platform 1 and then going back into the south siding, and its entry into this south siding is in the direction previous. We can see by the arrow that we've shown here that is direction next. So this time it is entering in direction previous. So we select previous here and we will give it a 100% weight. So we'll take that up to 100% and we'll give it a 1 second wait time. It's important to always have a 100% weight on the last step in a train route. This is for a number of reasons, one of which is that it is possible to test for a weight, and then we can use that result to trigger something else, such as starting another route or changing the route type or many other different things. And we will do some of this in later tutorials. Right, so that's all these steps inserted now, but how do we make it loop through these steps here? We do that using markers. Markers allow us to mark a part of the route that we want to be repeated and then continue on with the rest of the route. Our loop starts at SP1 and ends at the other SP1, and this is very important. For a loop to work, the end step must be the same as the starting step. To create a marker, we click on the starting step, and then in the lower window we use this field called marker, and in the drop down we click on the start marker, and then for the end step we click on that, and then again in the marker we come down here and we click on the finish marker, And then you can see in the upper window here we are showing the start and finish markers, so we can easily identify where our loop is occurring. Lastly, we need to set how many times we want the loop to repeat for, and we do that in the Options tab here, and in this field called Repeat. A value of 0 would continually repeat the loop until we either stop it or select the finish option. We will loop it just a couple of times, so we'll leave it on 2. Now we can click Apply to save the route and close the editor, and then we can test our route. We'll use our class 33 diesel again, so this is just the diesel on its own with no wagons. And we'll click the start button to start the route, and we get a route not possible from this position message. So why is that? Right, I forgot to actually select the route, so we need to do that, and then we can start the route again this time. And I'll switch to a full screen view of the switchboard so it's easier to see. That's a little better, isn't it? So I'll click the start button to start the route, and we're not stopping in South Platform 1, are we? Oh dear, this isn't a very good start, is it? So let's close the route down and stop it, and switch back to the other view and open the editor. And we forgot to put a wait in this step, so we'll do that. We'll make it just a 1 second wait. One, and then click Apply back there, then jump back to our other view, and we'll try again. Third time lucky. Right, fingers crossed. That's better. Okay, so wait for the speed to increase, then we can progress the route by double clicking and going into South Platform 1. The wait is finished. Wait for the speed to increase again, and we're going up via North Platform 2 with a wait, which is fine. That's one of the options that we wanted. Into North Platform 1, then it comes around to South Platform 1 where it is going to wait, which is correct. That's what we want it to do. Into South Platform 1. Great, wait for the speed to increase again. It's chosen to go through North Platform 2, but this time straight the way through because there's no orange bar, which is perfect. That's one of the options again that we wanted. And into South Platform 1 where it will wait, and this is where it stops, and then yes, we are now going back into the siding, which is just what we want. So we can click that into the siding, and then our route ends. Perfect. So that was okay for our diesel, which is without wagons and capable of moving in both directions. So let's try it this time using our steam train, which does have wagons. So we'll remove the diesel from the layout by pressing Shift and clicking on it, and then we'll move this one onto the south siding. And because we are a steam train with wagons, we need to make sure that we're correctly orientated. So we'll put it into forward gear, and then we need to flip this direction, so we're going this way, so we shift and click on the arrow here. So now iTrain is correctly orientated with our physical layout. So we'll press the start button to start the route, and we get a route not possible from this position message. And the reason for that, we don't have any route shown down here. We've not actually assigned this train to this particular route, have we? So we need to go up to our edit menu to trains, and then we select the DB pole. This is our steam train, and there we have the route, and we need to select that, then apply it, close this down, and now we have the routes showing down here. We can click on that, we press the start button, and yes, that's it. So let me switch to the other view, and then we can progress the route. We have speed, so we can progress this on, and the steam train is coming out of the siding now. The steam train travels much slower than our diesel, so it will take a while for it to come out of the siding, and it's coming into the station there now. It completed the wait. Now the speed has increased again, and we will move it on. We're going via North Platform 1, which is good. That's another option that we needed it to do. Wait for the speed to increase, then we can safely click on these other feedbacks, and it comes into South Platform 1 and completes the wait. Wait for the speed to increase. It's chosen to go to North Platform 1 again, which is fine. That's completely okay. Goes into the platform, completes the wait, and then we come round for the last time into South Platform 1. Comes into the station and completes the wait, and it seems to be stuck. So why has that stopped there? Can you see why? There's a clue on the screen here. So if we look carefully, we can see that these turnouts have not been released yet, and the train is still occupying these turnouts here. So now we have a train which has carriages on it, and it's evident that our carriages are too long for this particular platform, and it is not clearing these turnouts. So we either need to lengthen our platform or reduce the size of our train, and that's what we'll do. We'll change the size of this particular train. So we'll switch back to the other view, and then we'll go to the train editor. This time we'll do it by double clicking on the entry here, and we can go to composition, and we need to change the length of this. Now the sidings that I'm using here are all about 50 centimeters, which is very small, I know, but this is just a test track. So we'll change this value to, let's make it 12. So then we've got plenty of room. Press return and then click outside, and then we can click OK on that, and that should have changed the size of our train. we'll move this back into our south siding again, set it, check the orientation, which is correct, and then press start to start the route again. Let me switch to the other view and then progress the train. Again, it's a little slow to come out of this siding because we're a steam train, but it is progressing, and it's coming into the station or platform now. Completes the wait. We wait for the speed to increase, double click here, double click here. This time it's going to go straight through North Platform 1, which is good. That saves us a bit of time, and into South Platform 1. And it's picking up steam. We're into the platform shortly. Wait is completed. Wait for the speed, double click, and it's conveniently going straight through North Platform 2 this time. So we can progress this on into our South Platform, and let's see what happens this time. And it's coming in there now, and it has stopped with an error, and that error is train cannot continue. So why is that? Let's switch to the other view, and there you can see train cannot continue, but that's the only message that we've got. So our train is trying to reverse back into this siding here. And when we created this route, if we look at the train route, the type of route that we're using here is the default route, which is a normal route without shunting. So if we create a train route that involves any sort of shunting, we need to either choose the shunt type or the mixed type. And when shunting, a maximum speed for shunting is defined globally and or per block. The reservations will be made in a teal colour rather than the yellow-orange colour, and direction changes in a single direction block are allowed. If we choose shunt for the route, then the speed restrictions etc. are applied to the whole of the route, and this new option appears down here for clicking to allow entry into an occupied block. And if we use a mixed route, then we can select where the shunts are allowed to occur. So with mixed selected and this step selected, we now see that down in the lower window here we get an option to tick to say that a shunt is allowed in this particular block. And if we allow it by clicking on it, then the enter occupied block option appears. So I'll just reset that. So the best option for our route is to select this south siding at the end of our route here and make that a shunt block. So now iTrain will allow the train to shunt backwards into the south siding. If we want our train to be able to enter this block when it is already occupied by another train, we would tick the enter occupied block option, just like we did back in tutorial 12. To enter an occupied block, the positions of the train that is already in the block must be known, and the train should not have an active route or driving automatically without routes. And this block itself must also allow a shunt in an occupied block in its block properties. If you remember, in the block options tab, there is an option there for allowing a shunt in an occupied block. But shunting into an occupied block will only work properly if the block is technically capable of detecting an additional train in the occupied block. In other words, if the block only has one occupancy sensor, that sensor will already be activated by the train that is already in the block. And if another train then enters the block, that single occupancy detector will not notice it because it is already on. So we would need to have at least two feedback sensors in a block like this. A general occupancy feedback sensor and a short entry feedback that remains free so that it can detect a new train entering the block. However, if you have Railcom compatible occupancy sensors and locos fitted with Railcom compatible decoders, it is possible to detect an additional incoming train with just one sensor in the block. But this is a little less precise than using two sensors because there is an added varied delay to process the Railcom data. Ian very successfully uses single Railcom sensors on his shunting tracks and has performed his own experiments which show a distance error of around 3 centimeters for an HOE scale railway. So you can make your own judgment as to what is best for your layout. On this little test track that we have here, we're not using the enter occupied block option, so we can disable it. We don't need to set the shunt option for the South Platform 1 block because the train is already in that location and is not shunting into it. It will be shunting out, but we don't have to select the shunt, and therefore we won't be applying the speed restrictions for the South Platform 1, and an express train could pass straight through at full speed. So let's try that again as a mixed route this time. And before we apply the changes, let's change this to just to complete the cycle once to save us a little bit of time. Then we click apply to make the changes, and then we're back and we can run the loop. So let's get rid of this error by double clicking on it and then place our train back onto the starting block using set, and we're in 4th gear pointing in the right direction. Then we can click the start button to start the route, and I'll switch to the other window and we'll progress the route on into South Platform 1 where it slowly moves in. It's only travelling at 6 miles per hour at the moment, which is why it's taken a while to get into the South Platform. Completed the wait, the speed has increased, so we can then progress around the route straight into South Platform 1, and hopefully we will now be able to shunt back into the south siding here. Here we go, and yes, So it has occurred, and we have a teal colour showing that we're shunting into this block, and then when it gets into the block the route should end. And there we go, no errors this time. Perfect. See you in the next tutorial where we will continue building this train route. Take care.